if you want to grow as a filmmaker, particularly a documentary filmmaker, in my case, this tip that I'm about to talk about, which I call the feedback circle, is going to be crucial to speeding up growth as an editor, as a director, as a visionary of a project. This key that I'm about to talk about right here, this key tip, is going to hopefully, if you're not already doing this, put you on the fast track to becoming much better at your craft. So stay tuned for this. Hopefully this works, because if you want to get better, you probably want to do it faster, and this is the way. So enjoy. What is good, everybody? Today, I'm recording a lot of content today. I think I've made like 3 TikToks / Instagram reels, fucking 2 podcasts now, and out of these 2 podcasts will come a bunch of micro content. But I want to get on here to really talk about something that I've been recently doing with my work. And this isn't, I'm literally just saying this because I think it really helps. And it has to do with the stigma of like the creative genius who does everything himself or herself and like knows like tunnel vision how to create whatever project they're working on and doesn't need help from anybody, and you know it's just their thing and they're just tunnel visioned. It's very rare that those people ever succeed, and the reason that is, I believe, is because creativity is a collaborative thing. Creativity requires collaboration for 99.9% of us creators. And so I've been really putting in time on my documentaries, and I'm really going for it. I'm really trying to build myself into a phenomenal documentary filmmaker, and I want to live that life and constantly be doing that. And something that's been really, I think, helped me grow at a super fast rate is this thing that I call the feedback circle. I made a TikTok about this earlier, but the feedback circle is essentially a selected group of a selected small group of friends that you allow to see whatever project you're working on as you're working on it in selected steps. So if you go back to 3rd and 4th grade and so on, you probably remember, or you probably experienced this when you were writing a paper, where you would have a first draft and then your teacher would look over it and they'd give you certain things to change or work on, and they'd mark all the places you got your punctuation wrong. And essentially they'd be a second set of eyes who understands the goal of whatever you're trying to write in that paper, and they would have you would kind of submit your work to them for them to critique and tell you how to make better, right? That's exactly what I've been doing for the documentary films that I've been working on. And I want to talk about the value of that, right? I have a belief in life, and I think this shows a lot in my work that I do, whether it's like social media or the clients I work with or the documentaries I make. That belief is that the devil is in the details. The details, not the devil is in the details. It's that like in life we have highs and lows, right? And typically when we're riding high, we think we're so good that we forget to do the things that got us to that high, right? And oftentimes that leads to a low. In the low is typically where all of the info is on how to become better, right? And I think we can mimic this when we submit our work to the feedback circle. So the feedback circle is a close friend group or a close group of peers where you, like I said, you submit your work to them like you submit your papers to your teacher. So let me kind of break down how this works, right? I'm working on a documentary with Derek Griffin. Derek Griffin is a saxophonist who I met through Peter Hostrauser, who's going to be in one of the podcasts coming up. He's like a teacher, a business teacher I had. He kind of helped me get down this journey as a content creator, filmmaker, entrepreneur. Derek is who I'm making a mini documentary about right now. I created the first draft of that documentary about 2 weeks ago, and I sent it off to a few people. One is a buddy who's in film school right now. He's very talented and knowledgeable about filmmaking. The other was Mr. Hostrauser, who understands video editing very well, is a fan of cinema, and he has a degree in broadcasting, which deals in a lot of the things that filmmaking does. So I've trust him as a source of eyes. And then I sent it to Derek. And those three people were able to deliver me feedback from different points of view, right? And this is all carefully selected for this reason. Derek is obviously the person who the documentary is about and for. So that alone is a good enough opinion. I mean, he needs to see what's being created about him and for him because he's going to be putting it out, and I want his input, and I want to make sure that as I'm editing the story, he is able to steer me in the direction that tells the story properly, right? As a documentary filmmaker, it's important that we tell the story truthfully and ethically, and this is one of the ways that I can make sure I'm doing that. Because let's say I didn't have Derek as somebody in the feedback circle. Derek would be, let's say I did first, second, third draft, right? Didn't include him. Derek would then probably have an issue with something in the film, and that one thing that needs to be changed could have been changed in the first cut, and now I got to change the whole film that I just made, and that sets me back a long time before I can put this out into the public and put it as a part of my portfolio and advance my career as a documentary filmmaker, right? So for those reasons, you include the subject. Cosmo, he's a filmmaker. He looks at things from an analytical perspective and is able to give me feedback that only people who make films could really understand. So there's going to be a lot to learn from his perspective on the first cut. And then Peter Hostrauser, he's known me since I started, before I even made my first documentary film, before I even expressed interest in making a documentary film. And like I said, I gave you guys his background, so he provides a really great perspective, just as a mentor and somebody who kind of understands me a little more personally and understands how to push my buttons and turn certain dials that push me forward. So that's my circle for this film that we're talking about. And I think it's important that I share that because maybe it'll help the people who are viewing this to understand better how to construct their own circle that would be ideal for the feedback circle. So let me reintroduce that idea that I was talking about earlier, where the details that produce success are often found in the low points in life, right? When we have a first draft of anything, it's usually not that good. Even if you're really talented, it's usually not that good. And I'm certainly not really talented. Not yet anyway. Basically, you're asking somebody to look at your failure, your incomplete, not entertaining piece of work, and tell you everything that's wrong with it. this requires some kind of a backbone. And if you don't do this properly, or if you don't take the criticism properly, it could be the end of the film, right? Because if you either put out a crappy piece of work because you didn't listen to people's feedback, or you just don't even do it anymore because you're too overwhelmed. And either way, none of those are good, right? And this is like Gary Vee talks about this. It's humility is an important part of this journey. If you can't take constructive criticism from a select group of peers and friends for your piece of work, then it's just not gonna be good. It's gonna take you a long time to get good, and you, like I said, all this does is speed up the process of getting better, right? And this is coming from somebody who, I don't claim to be a talented filmmaker. I'm very new. I'm still learning. But I do think this is good. This is going to help me speed up my process of becoming a better filmmaker. And I already know it is, because from the first cut to this cut, I already understand so much more about editing and why I'm creating this story. And I could only have done that from the feedback I got. So yes, this is simulating a low point by showing people your failure, submitting yourself to feedback, taking it on the chin humbly, and yes, letting somebody else have influence over your project, because you're probably not a creative genius, and I'm not either. So yes, that's the feedback circle. That's the idea of the feedback circle, and how you can use it to improve yourself as a documentary filmmaker. Because especially when it comes to editing, right? First cut, second cut, final cut. The documentary is made in the edit, and a lot of us documentary filmmakers shoot and edit our own films. We shoot, edit, direct. We come up with the ideas, everything. So I would highly suggest finding somebody that you can add to your circle who's a filmmaker, get these different points of views. If you don't know anybody who's a filmmaker, that's why we have social media. You can find somebody, start a conversation in the DM, offer yourself as somebody that can be a part of their feedback circle. Now you guys are mutually benefiting from this, and you can start a relationship with another filmmaker. That's kind of what I did with Cosmo, really. So yeah, I would definitely say do this. It'll be worth your while. It'll help you improve. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.